Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayo Radha Damodar Shri Radhe Jayo Lalita Vishakha Shri Radhe Jayo Nitai Gaura Sundar Gaura Hari Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, everyone. My name is Prema-Kishori. And somehow I have this opportunity to speak today. Prabhu, can you make me co-host so I can share my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. So we'll start the new canto, new chapter, new verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Udidayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 1, verse 1. Thank you so much for sharing, Targa Prabhu. Raja Uvacha Priyavrata Bhagavata Atma Rama Katham Mune Grihe Amrita Yanmula Karma Bandha Parabhavaha. I'll say one more time, and if anybody wants to repeat, please feel free. Rajo Vacha Priyavrata Bhagavata Atma Rama Katham Mune Grihe Amrita Yanmula Karma Bandha Parabhavaha. Anybody would like to say? Okay, I'll go to synonyms. Raja Uvacha, King Parikshit said, Priyavrataha, King Priyavrat, Bhagavataha, the great devotee, Atma Ramaha, who takes pleasure in self-realization, Katham, why, Mune, O great sage, Grihe, at home, Aramata, enjoyed, Yat Mulaha, having which as the root cause, Karma Bandhanaha, the bondage of fruitive activities, Parabhava, the defeat of one's human mission. Translation by His Divine Grace, Prabhupada Ki Jai. King Parikshit inquired from Sukdev Goswami, O great sage, why did King Priyavrat, who was a great self-realized devotee of the Lord, remain in household life, which is the root cause of the bondage of karma, fruitive activities, and which defeats the mission of human life? Purport by His Divine Grace Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the 4th canto, Srila Sukdev Goswami explains that Narad Muni perfectly instructed King Priyavrata about the mission of human life. The mission of human life is to realize one's self and then gradually go back home, back to Godhead. Since Narad Muni instructed the king fully on this subject, why did he again enter household life, which is the main cause of material bondage? Maharaj Parikshit was greatly astonished that King Priyavrat remained in household life, especially since he was not only a self-realized soul, but also a first-class devotee of the Lord. A devotee has no attraction for household life, but surprisingly, King Priyavrat enjoyed household life very much. One may argue, why is it wrong to enjoy household life? The reply is that in household life, one becomes bound by the results of fruitive activities. The essence of household life is sense enjoyment. And as long as one engrosses his mind in working hard for sense enjoyment, one becomes bound by the reactions of fruitive activities. This ignorance of self realization is the greatest defeat in human life. The human form of life is especially meant for getting out of the bondage of fruitive activities. And as long as one is forgetful of his life's mission and acts like an ordinary animal, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, he must continue his conditioned life of material existence. Such a life is called Swarupa Vishmriti, forgetfulness of one's real constitutional position. Therefore, in Vedic civilization, one is trained in the very beginning of life as a brahmachari. A brahmachari must execute austerities and refrain from sex indulgence. Therefore, if one is completely trained in the principles of brahmacharya, he generally does not enter household life. He is then called Nashtika brahmachari, which indicates total celibacy. King Parikshit was thus astonished that the great King Priyavrata, although trained in the principles of Nashtika Brahmacharya, entered household life. The word Bhagavat Atmaramaha are very significant in this verse. If one is self-satisfied, as is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is called Bhagavat Atmaramaha. There are different types of satisfaction. Karmis are satisfied in their fruitive activities. Jnanis are satisfied to merge into the effulgence of Brahman, and devotees are satisfied to engage in the Lord's service. The Lord is self-satisfied because he is fully opulent, and one who is satisfied by serving him is called Bhagavat Atma Ramaha. Manushya Nam Sahasreshu, out of many thousands of persons, one may endeavor for liberation. And of many thousands of persons attempting to become liberated, one may achieve liberation from the anxieties of material existence and become self-satisfied. Even that satisfaction, however, is not the ultimate satisfaction. The Jnanis and the Karmis have desires, as do the yogis, but devotees have no desires. Satisfaction in the service of the Lord is called akama, freedom from desire, and this is the ultimate satisfaction. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit inquired, how could one who was fully satisfied on the highest platform be satisfied with family life? The word parabhavaha in this verse is also significant. When one is satisfied in family life, he is doomed because he must already have forgotten his relationship with the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj describes how the activities of family life implicates one more and more. Atma patam griham andhakupam. Household life is like a dark well. If one falls into this well, his spiritual death is assured. How Priyavrata Maharaj remained a liberated Paramhansa even within family life is described in the text 23 of this chapter. Om Agyan Timirandasya Jnananjan Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahiyam Tadati Swapadantikam. Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinbandhu Jagatpate Gopeesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namastute Taptakanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishbhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. King Parikshit inquired from Sukdev Goswami, O great sage, why did King Priyavrata, who was a great self-realized devotee of the Lord, remain in household life, which is a root cause of the bondage of karma, fruitive activities, and which defeats the mission of human life? Okay, so Tarka Prabhu, would you like to unmute?
Yeah, could you read the chapter summary, which is just prior to this verse?
Yeah.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Okay. This chapter is named as the activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. This chapter describes how King Priyavrata enjoyed royal opulence and majesty and then returned to full knowledge. King Priyavrata was detached from worldly opulence and then he became attached to his kingdom. But finally, he again became detached from material enjoyment and thus achieved liberation. When King Parikshit heard about this, he was struck with wonder, but he was somewhat bewildered as to how a devotee with no attachment for material enjoyment could later become attached to it. Thus, in astonishment, he questioned Sukdev Goswami about this. In response to King's inquiries, Sukdev Goswami said that devotional service, being transcendental, cannot be deviated by any material influences. Priyavrata had received a transcendental knowledge from the instructions of Narad, and therefore he did not want to enter a materialistic life of enjoyment in a kingdom. He accepted the kingdom, however, at the request of such superior demigods as Lord Brahma and Lord Indra, the king of heaven. Everything is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, and everyone must work accordingly. Just as a bull is controlled by a rope tied to its nose, so all conditioned souls are forced to work under the spells of the modes of nature. A civilized man, therefore, works according to the institution of Varna and Ashram. Even in materialistic life, however, no one is free to act. Everyone is compelled to act, to accept a certain type of body offered by the Supreme Lord, and thus be allotted different grades of happiness and distress. Therefore, if one artificially leaves home and goes to the forest, he again becomes attached to materialistic life. Family life is compared to a fortress for practicing sense control. When the senses are controlled, one may live either at home or in forest, no difference. When Maharaj Priyavrata, following the instructions of Lord Brahma, accepted the royal throne, his father Manu left home for the forest. Maharaj Priyavrata then married Bharishmati, the daughter of Vishwakarma. In the womb of Bharishmati, he got 10 sons named Agnidhara, Idma Jiva, Yagnabahu, Mahavira, Hiranya-reta, Gritha-prashta, Savana, Medhatithi, Vitihotra, and Kavi. He also begot one daughter whose name was Ujrashwati. Maharaj Priyavrata lived with his wife and family for many thousands of years. The impressions from the rims of Maharaj Priyavrata's chariot wheel created 7 oceans and 7 islands. Of the 10 sons of Priyavrata, 3 sons named Kavi, Mahavira, and Savana accepted sannyas, the 4th order of life, and the remaining 7 sons became the rulers of the 7 islands. Maharaj Priyavrata also had a second wife, in whom he begot 3 sons named Uttama, Revata, and Tamas. All of them were elevated to the post of Manu. So Dev Goswami thus described how Maharaj Priyavrata achieved liberation. Okay, so we are discussing the first verse, first chapter. So I'm going to approach this in different points. So first is that Parikshit Maharaj, well, first let me welcome everyone, my friends at the altar who are very busy in dressing and getting the Lord ready, my friends in the kitchen, my friends in the creamery, and everyone, each and everyone. So welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Maharaj Parikshit is asking 2 questions. That's the first point. One question is that Maharaj Priyavrata, or King Priyavrata, was actually a Bhagavat Atmaramaha. Krishna is called Atmaram, right? Atmaram means one who is satisfied in his own self. He doesn't actually need anyone else to satisfy him. And Bhagavat Atmaramaha, Prabhupada is describing as one who is satisfied in satisfying the self-satisfied. So he was actually instructed by Narad Muni on the principles of brahmacharya, and he was a Nashtika brahmachari, total celibacy. And he was happy in that life. But then his father, Swayambhu Manu, approached. Swayambhu Manu had 2 sons, Uttanapad and King Priyavrata. Uttanapad is Dhruva Maharaj's dynasty, right? And then King Prithu, Prachetas, and after their ruling was coming to an end, so Manu was going to take over the role of a ruler, but then he wanted to retire. So he went to his other son who was practicing austerities on alone and satisfying the self-satisfied Krishna, to request him to take over the ruling so Swayambhav Manu could retire. So Swayambhav Manu goes to him and asks, could you please marry? Could you please, take over the leadership? And Parikshit, and it is written that if you read the chapters further, that Priyavrata thinks, should I do it or should I not do it? And then he remembers the instructions of his spiritual master that being a brahmachari is perfect, and I'm happy. I have no desire. So he says, I know you're my father. I know you want me to do it, but I'm really happy where I am. So I don't want to do it. So when he says that, the sky goes total white and all the demigods, denizens of the heavenly planets come together. And then suddenly they saw that Lord Brahma has come on his swan chariot. And when Brahma comes and Lord Indra comes, and then Narad Muni comes, and then Lord Brahma starts to talk, that is actually the desire of Lord Vishnu. So ultimately, Maharaj Priyavrata's entering the family life from being a Nashtiki brahmachari is actually the order of a superior. Okay. But so Vaishnava Kriya and Mudra, Vaishnava's activities and their thought process is very confidential. It may appear ordinary, but it is not ordinary. It is very confidential. So that's Maharaj Priyavrata. But over here, Parikshit Maharaj is asking Sukhdev Goswami 2 questions. That Maharaj Priyavrata is a Bhagavad Atmaramaha. So how did he enter? Because he was satisfied. So how did he enter a family life? And not only did he enter, but he actually enjoyed it. He actually remained very satisfied in it. I am very bewildered that how is it that anybody who is, at that stage can actually not only enter, but actually seek satisfaction from their entrance into a family life. It is said that brahmachari is already 75% in Brahman. So why marry? Why marry? Okay, so to develop, my 2 aims for this particular class is to develop the knowledge and understand a personal application. So I'm going to approach this class in let's explore the reasons why marry or why not marry. Somebody is like on that level of brahmachari and they are struggling, whether we should remain brahmachari or whether we should not remain brahmachari. So let's see this. So how could King Priyavrata, who is a Bhagavad Atmaramaha, a great devotee who is satisfied in satisfying the self-satisfied Lord, enjoy household life? This is his question. Oh, Krishna, sorry. So household life, why is it so condemned in the Shastras? Because it is a root cause of bondage of karma. Yan mula karma bandha. Right? One becomes very bonded in the karmic reactions. And it defeats the mission of human life, parabhavaha, as Prabhupada is saying in this verse. The mission of human life is to develop self-realization and gradually go back home, back to Godhead. And then Swarupa Vishmriti, Prabhupada is using this word in purport, means one enters the family life and then one forgets one's constitutional position. And it reinforces the conditional nature of a conditioned soul. We have a constitutional nature and a conditional nature. Srila Prabhupada talks about this in 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita and also in 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I think verse 33 and 34. We have a constitutional nature and a conditional nature. So here, family life has been condemned. Now I am playing devil's workshop. It's condemned because if one enters family life, one's conditional nature is reinforced. One develops raga, bhaya, and krodha more and more. We already have that, but it becomes exaggerated. So raga means attachment, bhaya means fear, krodha means anger. So Krishna says in 4th chapter Bhagavad Gita, verse 10, that one has to be free. Vita, raga, bhaya, krodha. Right? Vita means free. One has to become free from this. But if one enters a family life, one develops this. And Narottam Das Thakur Prabhupada has taught us, right? Bhajo hure mana Shri Nanda Nandana, Abhaya Charana Ravindare. So the whole prayer is about family life and conditional nature. And he says, Chapala Sukha Labalagde. Chapala Sukha means flickering happiness. If there is a candle and it's placed in a windy place, so it's flickering, struggling. So like that's a flickering. There's happiness, and then there's no happiness, and there's happiness, there is no happiness. Prabhupada, this is one of my favorite terms that Srila Prabhupada uses. Prabhupada says one arranges the wedding of one's children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren. And in India, especially, it's a very big affair. It's a 3-day affair, 4-day affair, sometimes a 7-day affair. Like ceremonies are going on, but actually what is happening? All these things which I mentioned above are happening. So he uses the word Bahurarambha Laghu Kriya. Bahu means Sanskrit, it means big. Arambha means beginning. Very big beginning. Laghu means small. Kriya means activity. But the activity is so small. One is, celebrating one's fall down. Okay, so if this is one aspect of this particular class, so then let's discuss some of the ways to prevent one from entering the family life. What can we do? Collectively and individually. Don't enter, do not. Because one devotee gave us this analogy in one of the classes I heard, that it's like, okay, you are behind a closed door, there's a room, and one tells you that you can enjoy anything and everything in that room, inside that wall, with your family, with your friends, with everybody. Okay, but there is one condition. You can enjoy every single thing you want, but there's just one condition. What is the condition? The condition is that the minute you're going to come out, I'm going to shoot you to death. So that is like family. Like he gave us this description to say that, okay, that kind of a happiness, how will you be able to enjoy? An ordinary family life, one has to earn money, one must have children, one must have social circle, one must be able to enjoy senses and provide for the family, and so on and so forth. Don't enter, right? So let's do what we can do. Prabhupada talks about this in Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 1st chapter, verse number 4. Deha patya kalatra deshu atmasaneshu asatsoapi tesham pramatta nidhanam pashyanapi na pashyati. This is reason number 1, okay? Not to enter the family life. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers, like Deha means body, Apatya means children, wife. Apatya means wife. And Kalatra, Kala means children. Okay. So body, children, and wife, although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. So one becomes attached to body, one becomes attached to wife, one becomes attached to children, and they are all fallible soldiers. Don't enter. Okay. So reason number 2. Srila Prabhupada talks about this in 3rd canto Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 26, one of the most difficult chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Kapila Muni's instruction, where he uses the word Guna Vichitraha. Guna Vichitra means variety. Guna means here 3 modes of material nature, or Guna also means robe. So one gets bound by the 3 enjoyment or varieties in the 3 modes of material nature when one is in an ordinary family life. So don't enter. And then number 3, one can convince oneself by saying that, okay, let's see, I want to enter because I want some bodily satisfaction. So what is this body at the end of the day? Let's see that. So in early 20s, this is a little old slide, so the rate may have changed, but the fundamental constitution will still remain same. So in the early 20 years of 20th century, a scientist analyzed the constituents of human body. Okay, let's see this slide. He said that the human body was made up of following constituents: iron to make 6 small nails, carbon to make 900 pencils, sugar to sweeten 10 cups of coffee, okay, and then potassium to fire a toy cannon, and lime and fat to make 7 bars of soap, phosphorus to make 20 matchboxes, water to fill 10-gallon water tank, a little sulfur, a little calcium, and other trace elements. So we have so one can, control their mind or repress the mind by saying, oh, my body is a combination of calcium, iron, phosphorus, water content, and other substances. What is the price? Okay, when I made this slide 3 years ago, the price was $2.80. So the price may have changed, maybe $280, but it's still not worth it, right? So one may say, okay, don't enter the family life because this is the price of my body and my soul is priceless. And this is a very famous thing. Uh, the plight of a man is a wonder indeed. This is from Mahabharata. So one may try to control one's desire to enter a family life by giving this argument to oneself that, oh, there was this man, he was running in the forest and he was chased by the elephant. So, not knowing what to do, he climbed the tree. And then he saw that, okay, the elephant is going to uproot the tree. So he said, okay, I'm going to go and climb the branch. And then when the elephant uproots the tree, then I'm going to fall in the water river down. And then the elephant will take the tree, but I will be saved. So then what happens? Then he goes, he climbs, he's hanging from the branch. But then, alas, the branch is very shaky because it's been eaten by the white color rat and a black color rat. And then the river in which he wants to jump actually is surrounded by poisonous serpents. And there is a beehive on the tree. And because of the shaking or the shaking that's going on, the bees are getting disturbed. So they are coming and biting. But what is he busy with? He is busy with the trickling honey that's coming and touching his tongue, right? So yehi samsparshaja bhoga, right? Yehi samsparshaja. Sparsha means touch. Samsparshaja bhoga means enjoyment. So the enjoyment that is coming with the touch of the senses, with the sense objects. So he is forgetting all this. These rats are representing day and night, white and black. This elephant is representing death, and these poisonous serpents and bee cutting and these biting honeybees are representing the problems of life. So one can forget everything. I am chased by death. My life duration is reduced by every day and every night. I have so many other problems that I need to deal with. One can totally protrude the tongue out and taste the honey. So little bit happiness. Okay, so one can say herself like, I'm not so fool. I'm not going to enter the family life. And then one can also give this argument. This is from Srila Prabhupada's Science of Self-Realization. And I think everybody knows this story of a liquid beauty that there was a very beautiful girl and a king became attracted to her and he wanted to marry her. And she said, okay, you want to marry me? Come after 1 week. So for 1 week, she took spurgatives and laxatives and stored her beauty in the form of vomit and stool. And when he came, all he saw was a very frail looking lady with her beauty in the pots. So one can say, oh my goodness, I am attracted to an opposite gender, but actually it's a liquid beauty. Okay, or one can even say oneself about this, brahmachari and rat. There was a brahmachari, okay, and he had a spiritual, of course he had a spiritual master. The spiritual master was going on a pilgrimage. And he told his brahmachari that take care of the ashram. But brahmachari was very sattvic. He had his routine of reading and everything. But because of the responsibilities, he was finding hard to take care of to take the time out to read. So what happened when he was taking care of the ashram, he was disturbed by a rat. His friend said, oh, not a problem. You can't kill it, but you can always have a cat. So have a cat will kill the rat. But then the problem is cat will need milk. Oh, not a problem. Keep a cow. So he kept a cow. And then what happened? Okay, now I have no time at all because the cow needs so much care. Like this is the best place to ask how much time a cow needs or cows need and how much time is left for other things for a person taking care of the cow to do. Dhruva Prabhu will be the best person in the entire creation to talk about it. So then his friend said, well, you told me to keep a cat, then you told me to keep a cow, and now I'm more busy. The cow needs so much care. He said, okay, no problem, get married. The wife will take care of the cow will give milk for the cat will keep you away from the rat. You have all the time in the world to read. Then what happened? When Guru Maharaj came back, he asked, okay, how is your preaching and your sadhana going? This was the condition of the person. So one can, train ourselves, or one can say, okay, I'm not going to do this. Grihastashram because it is going to lead me to this stage. But the question is, or even in the case of Ajamil, when he was trying to repress on seeing the prostitute in the forest, he was trying to memorize, right, his Vedic shlokas, his all the knowledge. He was trying to remember. The question is, and the point to bring all these 7 things in this particular assembly is that does it really help? Does it really help? If somebody wants to enter a prahast ashram, are these statements enough? There's a difference between repression and self-control. What is the difference? Repression and self-control. Krishna says, I'm going to bring up that slide in 3rd chapter Bhagavad Gita, verse 33. What can repression accomplish? So repression is defined in dictionary as unwillingness or incapacity to recognize an emotional thought or state. So person is either not willing or person doesn't have a capacity. But self-control, on the other hand, is then when you recognize or identify an emotion or attitude and consciously choose to act different, not allowing yourself to be possessed by that. Okay, so Mother Rajleela, I don't know if she's here, was talking to me about spiritual bypassing. Right, so I looked up a little bit. My Mother Rajleela, if you want to unmute and shed some light on that, that'll be so nice. So you say, okay, we are using spiritual bypassing. Are we using that? So I looked up what is spiritual bypassing. It was actually a term coined by a psychologist, John Wellwood, which means there is a tendency to turn away from what is difficult, painful, or unpleasant, and to use scriptural or spiritual ideas or beliefs to avoid the pain of facing these circumstances. So it's not self-control, it's repression. Okay, so if somebody really wants to enter a family life, then we have a need to create an authentic and safe environment, rather than throwing scriptures and helping them to repress their emotion. So how do we do that? Like if somebody really wants to do it and the people around them are not conducive and they just want them to wear the saffron cloth and dressed as brahmachari just because it helps, it attracts more attention and respect from people, but the person themselves are not being authentic to themselves, that's not a really healthy way of living. My spiritual master talks about two cases. Maharaj talks about one incident. He said when he was in Vrindavan, there was this Mataji who approached him, said that, Maharaj, I got married to this devotee who was a brahmachari before. We are married for a year. All he does all day is just read Chitra Chaitamrita. He doesn't talk to me. All I do all day is clean his clothes, give him food on time, make his bed, or just ask if he needs anything to eat or drink. And she said, this is killing me. What should I do? So Maharaj said, doesn't sound like a healthy marriage, but I'm sorry, I'm a sannyasi. I really can't give more advice. So then Guru Maharaj said he went to Vrindavan 2 years later. The same Mataji came to him and said, it's over. I left him. So you see, if somebody enters the Grihastha ashram thinking that, oh, I am very authentic to my feelings, but when one enters with this kind of an attitude that I'm just gonna do my things and there's gonna be a parallel life, the other person will do their thing, that also is not very authentic Krishna conscious environment. And the other incident I find is very funny. He talks about my Guru Maharaj was one of the persons who was a pioneer in manifesting Srila Prabhupada's desire of making new Vrindavan. So Maharaj said that time we were digging the lake. There's a lake in New Vrindavan, which is man-made. So the devotees were digging the lake. And there was this brahmachari and there was this Mataji, the girl, both were young. And the girl was attracted to this brahmachari. She wanted to marry him. So she approached the temple president, as is the etiquette, and the temple president approached the brahmachari. And the brahmachari was like, should I marry or should I not marry? Then he came up with the idea. Guru Maharaj talks about it in these classes, and this is really funny. I don't know how I'm going to control my laughter, but he says, the brahmachari said, okay, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to sleep in the boat on the lake tonight, okay? And then if in the morning, if I get up with my head facing towards east, that means yes. And if I get up facing towards any other direction, it means no. So later on, of course, they got married. Later on, that brahmachari, that Prabhu, told his, many years down the lane, his people around him, his other devotees, that actually he used to get up around 2:33 in the morning. So when he got up around 2:33 in the morning, the boat was in the west direction. So then he said, okay, maybe there is no harm in sleeping a little bit more today. So he slept a little bit more that night so that he could get up in the east direction. So basically there was some desire. That's what I'm trying to bring out. Okay, we don't have to find such alternative funny routes to express them and be authentic to who we are and what we want. Because I am sure each one of the devotees in this assembly is aware that family life can be used in service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all the evidences that I gave doesn't really work. I am asking the question, but I'm also telling you the answer. What makes it not work? It will work maybe for short term, but long term, the person will again succumb. We need to remember, we are dealing with the external energy of the Lord, Bahiranga Shakti. It's Krishna's energy. Okay? We cannot fight it. Krishna says this in 7th chapter, 14th verse of Bhagavad Gita. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. He himself is saying this energy is divine and this is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Okay, so one needs to develop, rather than fighting in their head, should I not, should I not, one needs to develop authenticity and a little bit of a courage to develop, to face one's desires and feelings. You know, Leela Madhurya, I love her classes. Leela Madhurya once was giving class, or maybe she was attending class, but I was there with her, and she made me realize that how important it is that one has to be very authentic. We were discussing the tolerance, the quality of tolerance in a devotee. Okay, I'm going a little parallel, but it's relevant. That's why I am trying to bring it up. So it's like, okay, when Haridas Thakur was beaten up in so many marketplaces, he didn't like, curse, or he didn't cry, or he didn't apparently externally appear to be in any pain. When Prahlad Maharaj was being abused by his demoniac father, we don't hear Prahlad Maharaj going through trauma counseling or having traumatic experiences of life. He was completely not in touch with what's happening outside. Or Bhishma Dev, when he was on this pair of arrows, we read his instructions in 1st canto, 9th chapter, but I don't remember reading that he was in so much pain and he was saying, can you give me some pain medicine? Can you, put some blanket over me or do something, right? We don't hear all that. But then if somebody says something to me, or if somebody is trying to do all those things to me, I would have a tendency to react. So I was asking this question to Leela Madhurya, that what makes this different? She said that one has to be very authentic to one's own personal elevation in Krishna consciousness, right? Karmane eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachanan. So 2nd chapter, I think it's verse 47. So karmane eva adhikar. Adhikar means right. And adhikar also means one's personal elevation. So if I am not at that level, then I should accept it. I should have the courage to accept where I am, rather than trying to fake it or trying to please others or trying to make some show bottle spiritualist. It won't work. Okay, so Krishna himself says in third chapter, I brought it up before also, 33rd verse, even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? Right? It's a hot potato voice. It's a hot potato topic in ISKCON. What can repression accomplish? And I think Grihastha Vision team has written an article about it also in ISKCON News. I remember reading it many years ago. So what is Krishna or Prabhupada writing in the purport? So even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature. So nature is acquired from three modes, which is Krishna's divine energy and is very difficult to overcome. So higher knowledge, which I have presented before, all the arguments fail. They fail to help. Higher knowledge fails because it is impossible to get out of Maya by theoretical knowledge. And in bondage because of long association of material nature. So what is the solution? The solution is that transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, which is a gradual process, helps one get out of the material entanglement by engaging in material prescribed duties or the system of varna and ashram. So one should not suddenly give up the prescribed duties artificially and stay in one's own position and try to sustain Krishna consciousness under superior training. So if we can together collectively make a safe environment for each other to express our authentic nature and desire, so that we can be assist to each other and not repress and have a spring effect, that will be an ideal society for one's spiritual growth. Right, and then the family life can be used as a launching pad or a jumping board to go to Krishna. Chapter 6 of Nectar of Devotion, How to Discharge Devotional Service. Rupa Goswami Prabhupada opens the chapter by discussing Rupa Goswami Prabhupada is talking about different ways of what not to do and what to do in devotional service, discharging devotional service. But the first paragraph, he writes about a difference of principle and detail. That in principle, I'm talking about principle. Let's be authentic. Let's be real, and let's give a area or a field to other people, other devotees around us to be real as well. Now that's the principle. The detail now, how one has to become this. Who should one marry, or when should one marry, or what should we do? That's a detail that has to be very individual. But the long-term goal of becoming Krishna conscious and going back to Krishna must be universal, whether one is a brahmachari or a grihastha or a vanaprastha or sannyasi. Okay, so in summary, if we can take home or that King Priyavrata, coming to the original topic, King Priyavrata's condition is different. He's acting under the order of a superior personality like Lord Brahma, Lord Indra. Okay, and then our condition, even though we are reading all these things that is condemned, it's this, but if somebody can do it authentically, it's fine. But if somebody has a desire, then there's no point in repressing it. If we can develop a safe haven or culture for everyone to be authentic and not spiritually bypass, that will be good example of how to lead a varnashram life. We have examples in our communities, right? We have Tarka Prabhu and Shamagopa Rupa Mataji. All of their children are first class devotees, as far as I know. Now the second generation, third generation is also coming out as devotees. So authentic. And we have Vrajlila Mataji and Ekavara Prabhu. We have Jagannath Pandit Prabhu, Chintamani Mataji. We have Dhruva Prabhu and Parijata. We have Leela Madhurya, Vinu Madhurya. We have newly added members in our community, my dear friend Radha Mohini and her awesome husband, Shri Goloka Prabhu, and their beautiful daughter, Madhuri. So we have these examples around us where we can see that those devotees are collectively and individually trying to become Krishna conscious. Okay. Okay, I open up for any reflections, realizations, or questions or criticism.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
you have blown me away.
Oh,
I am astounded. This was an extraordinary class. Why are you not giving class every day? My
I'm
goodness.
very grateful to you for encouragement, but I don't. Why don't you talk? I'll listen.
How long did it take you to prepare this?
It took me maybe a few hours, like 1 or 2 hours, 2 hours. Yes. And then I went over it for 10 minutes before I came to speak. So,
Boy. Well, I'm very, very impressed. I had, I read over the text earlier this morning. I jotted down a few notes. I had some ideas of things I thought I would mention, but your classes pretty much covered everything and overshadowed all of my thoughts. I don't really have anything to contribute that would add in any way to what you've already done. This was an extraordinary presentation, combined with the PowerPoint presentation. Very, very powerful, as a profound effect on the consciousness, and very thorough and complete examination of all the different considerations. Very well thought out presentation. I'm really impressed. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you very much for a very nice class. Hare Krishna.
thank you. It means a lot coming from you. I was very concerned and fearful before coming here. So Vatna Prabhu gave me the opportunity, but thank you for the encouragement. And also one of the other couples, the list of the couples I named was no way complete, but one of the other couples which is very dear to my heart is the most beautiful Divya Mataji and her singer husband, Sarvatna Prabhu. So you see, we can take examples from our devotees around us, living and leading a Krishna conscious family life. Thank you, Dr. Prabhu. If you would like to add anything, please feel free. Rajlila Mataji, would you like to speak about spiritual bypassing a little bit? Thank you for coming.
Hari Hari. No, I don't. You, as Taka Prabhu said, you explained it so beautifully, and you have such beautiful slides to help everybody to stay present to, to your theme. I did have a question. So we see that Priyavrata, he as you said, he went on to enjoy family life, right? He had however many 10 children, I think, or something, maybe more.
10 children from first wife and a daughter, 10 boys and 1 girl, and I think 3 from other wife.
Yeah. So given that he had this training of brahmacharya, I'm just a little bit curious in terms of our practical application as brahmacharya people that are in brahmacharya, like getting that training. How important is that for them to enjoy family life in a way that is enjoyment? However, it's focused. If I can, I'm not sure I'm using the right words to explain this question. Yeah, I guess my question is, how important is that training of brahmacharya to help one to properly understand enjoying a married life?
Oh, that's a tricky one. So you're asking, as a nice Mother Rajila is asking for people behind the altar and in the kitchen, and that how important it is for one to get trained in brahmacharya ashram before one enters the grihastha ashram, if they desire so. Is that what you're asking, Mother Rajila?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I open up to the assembly here to discuss. I thought about that and how important it is. It is important because the ultimate goal of life is not marriage. Ultimate goal of life is to become Krishna conscious. So to have that memory and sanskar, it's a sanskar, right? Sanskar, the other meaning of the word sanskar is to give an impression to the mind that the sanskar of being a brahmachari will actually always remind a person in grahasthashram that I am here, but this is not my goal of life. So it will be easier for later on to not get succumbed to the cycle of deha patta kalatra deshu, at the time of death. Also, one is thinking about what is going to happen to my family life now. What is going to happen to my people? Prabhupada talks about it, right? Two things I'll tell what I have heard from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. One thing is, Srila Prabhupada had brought up this discussion that a question was raised in the assembly of Akbar that till when one will have a sex desire, till what age, because after a certain age, mechanically, the body as a medicine part, in women, there is a menopause, and then in men there is the adrenopause. So they both deteriorate. So if it is solely a desire of the body, then because the body is not deteriorating, so for how long will one have sex desire? So the most intelligent mantri or minister of Akbar's, I think was Birbal, answered until the time of death. So he said, you are kidding. How is it possible for an 80-year-old man or 90-year-old man to have the desire? He said, okay, I'll prove you, my dear king. So he went on in the kingdom, and there was this 90-year-old or some very elderly person leaving his body. So he told the king, why don't you come and pay a visit to this dying elderly person, but make sure you bring your young daughter with you. Okay. So he said, okay, I'll come, because the king was completely convinced that this minister is completely wrong. So Prabhupada says that this minister goes, Hare Krishna, this minister goes with a young daughter, this king goes with a young daughter, and he could clearly see that this old man in the deathbed is looking only at the young daughter. So he could see that, okay, the sex desire is actually there till the time of death. So if one is trained in a brahmachari ashram, and brahmachari ashram doesn't mean bachelor daddy, right? Prabhupada talks about this, doesn't mean bachelor daddy. It's so hilarious. He uses these words. Brahmachari ashram means actually living by the principles of a spiritual master. The spiritual master forgets to give you food, you starve that day, right? He talks like that. So if one develops that detachment, then even though one has a desire, but one is completely aware, stays in self-awareness, and it's an impression of the mind. That's not the goal of my life. So it's important. But I open up for other senior devotees, Jagannath Pandit Prabhu, Tarkar Prabhu, Savatma Prabhu, Jamil Prabhu, Hare Krishna, or Shri Goloka Prabhu to pitch in.
That I'm glad you cited that example. It's a wonderful example that Srila Prabhupada mentions on a number of occasions. My thoughts are similar. I firmly believe that a background of Krishna of brahmacharya is really helpful to ensure that one can get through household life successfully. Because household life can be extremely difficult, and the nature of household, it's described as the cause of bondage. Brahmacharya, proper training in brahmacharya, and it's worthwhile to note that in our present context, not everyone necessarily gets proper training in brahmacharya. We have lots of individuals who are single but haven't necessarily been trained well as brahmacharis. The Krishna consciousness movement is still somewhat in its infancy. Srila Prabhupada introduced lots of important information that has not always been so well implemented. But The actual science of brahmacharya is a wonderful thing and immensely helpful. There are 8 different aspects to brahmacharya that have to be understood and practiced by a brahmachari. But as you say, the experience of brahmacharya establishes a samskara that serves as an inoculation against the tendency for household life to bind you to material life. There remains in a brahmachari a longing, a hankering for the ecstasy and the simplicity of brahmachari life. A stage of his life at which the brahmachari he has so much time and energy to devote to Krishna consciousness and relishing Krishna consciousness. There is a sharp contrast when you enter the household ashram. Things change very dramatically. So much of your time is diverted to other practical matters of family maintenance. It leaves you dissatisfied to some extent. You will tend to think a lot about freeing yourself from those sorts of encumbrances and returning to the simplicity and the time when you are able to devote yourself more fully to Krishna consciousness. In the household ashram, if you are very adept, you can make household life a very Krishna conscious situation. But the nature of household life is that it entails lots of compromises. As I say, so much of your time is diverted, and so it's difficult. It's very challenging. Household life sometimes. People make the mistake of thinking that household life is going to be a solution to the problem of lust for them, and it really isn't. You still have to contend with that problem. It's out of the frying pan and into the fire. So my own experience is, I would say that brahmacharya is indispensable. I think that those who do not have the benefit of a background of brahmacharya are very seriously disadvantaged. But on the other hand, it's also true, we have seen historically that sometimes brahmacharya was poorly implemented. Individuals were not properly trained as brahmacharis, and although they spent a period of time as a so-called brahmachari, somehow or other they came out of it in a condition that rendered them less capable of performing well as a grihasta. The ideal is supposed to be that brahmacharya prepares you for household life and makes you a very ideal householder. That's the ideal. We don't always meet up to ideals, but I think when in ISKCON we have a strong and vibrant brahmacharya ashram established with good and proper training, we will see much stronger, much more Krishna conscious and very successful householders. And those are some of my thoughts. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Shri Goloka Prabhu, please go ahead. The Krishna is still eating.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I know this has gone over and there is daily greetings, but I'll be really quick. Regarding Grihastha life, I was told by my mentors, there's 2 things that all husbands should do. Number 1, be controlled in your senses. And number 2, be very, very sensitive in terms of emotions to your partner. So they're not an oxymoron. They're not contradictory to each other. You can be very, very sensitive. Actually, this is one thing I've experienced, is that if one is really self-controlled in their own, habits and everything, they actually have more chance to process the emotions that they're feeling. So they can now empathize with the opposite with the wife or with the husband, they can empathize because they actually went through that whole process of, digesting the emotion that they had usually. And when they're not controlled, obviously, they obviously release in other ways, which is obviously not recommended. So it's good that when we follow the 4 eggs, we actually are processing all these emotions because we have no other place to go. So that's some of the realizations I've had.
Thank you very much. I think Radha Mohini is one of a lucky girl. We can train our prospect Grahastas. We have a couple of them here. That will be great. Thank you. Okay, we'll go for the morning reading for the love of our hearts.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
everyone.
much, Mother Prema-Kishori, for your class.
Thank you. Vanchakalpatarabhyascha prasannadhyaya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namah. Namaste Vaishnavind ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. End the meeting.
You're the host. No, wait. No, don't.
No, I'm not ending the meeting. Just ending my slides.
This is yours.
Yes, and computer is also mine. I bring. You can make it.
Oh,
No, Prabhu, you can take it. It's really good. Thank you.
nice class. Very nice. Are they open? Very nice.
Yes, that's why I came to come. Thank you.
Radha, Damodara Radha, Damodara Radha. Disha Kalanita Shakashri Radhe. Nitai Guna Sundar Nitai Guna Sundar Guna Hari. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale, Devi Devi Swami Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Prabhu, wishing you a splendid Krishna conscious day.
Be bold.